Hey guys, and welcome to Top Channel One-on-One. So today we're going to be making this type of animation. It's basically a commercial I saw on Behance, and I decided we could do this in Geometry Nodes and Blender. So yeah, this is their version, and they have a few different versions, and this is what I managed to do in Geometry Nodes and Blender. I think I did this within about, I don't know, 5 hours, and I would really love to hear some feedback from you guys, because I want to make this type of content, but the only way for me to know that you want to watch this kind of content is if you comment or like. It empowers me to do this kind of content. Learn to make this type of content, you can easily find a job. So let's jump in. We're going to start by modeling the bottle. You can see how everything is set up here. Very easy setup, and I'm going to do a quick breakdown of everything here. And again, all links are going to be available in the description, including the links to the original commercial here. We're going to start by making the bottle, which is just going to be a quick time lapse of the process of making the bottle, so that I don't make this too long. And if you want to watch the entire process from start to finish of making just the bottle, you can go to my second channel. I'm going to leave a link in the description. Yeah, but it was fairly easy. I also went out and got a bottle of Mountain Dew, because I only had one reference image and I needed to know to understand how the model really is. And that's something you usually do if you can access the model you're working with. I recommend that so that you can know how the topology is and actually feel the 3D version you want to make, since if you're looking at the image, you're just looking at a 2D version. Again, all project files are going to be in the description. If you want to download them, they're going to be on my Gumroad and accessible to my members, YouTube members, and also on my Patreon. So let's jump in and see how that goes. Okay, so this is what I have in my viewport, and you can see how this looks compared to the original version. Like this, I'm working with 3.5, and viewport compositing is turned on. But if I disable that, this is what I'm looking at in cycles, and this is what I'm looking at in Eevee. You can see the different layers that I set up here. So I have these on a texture, these spiral meshes on a texture, and I also have these spiral bottles that I created using geometry nodes, and I have this setup as well with geometry nodes, which is what I'm going to show you. And here's the viewport animation. So I just animated this bottle coming in. So let me show you how I animated the bottle. I'm just going to start. Okay, so we have our Mountain Dew bottle here. Let's just have it in our collection, call it bottle. So if you download the same bottle that I'm using here, you may notice that there are some bubbles in this bottle to make it look more realistic. And let me switch to cycles here just to show you. You can see that there are some bubbles inside this. The bubbles make the bottle look more realistic, but the issue is that since we are going to have a lot of instances, they make the project too heavy. So for that reason, I'm going to disable them, and I should disable them in case your PC can't handle having that many objects with the bubbles. Now that we have this in our collection, let's start creating one of these spirals, one of the effects. We can start with this rotating circle here. And for that, I'm just going to start with a plane. This is going to hold our geometry nodes, and I'm going to go to geometry nodes here. Let me turn on random colors. Have this at the center, and we're going to start with a line mesh. We're going to start with a curve, circle curve, like that. Now we're going to convert these to points, curve to points. This will have our points. Now we're going to instance on points. Instance on points. Now what we want to instance is our collection here, our bottle collection. If I bring that in into the instance, we get something like that. The scale is too big, so yeah, we just have a circle of bottles like that. But if you look at our original animation, you see that we have a spiral of, yeah, like that. So to get that effect, instead of using a collection directly in here, what we can do is create another instance, another circle, curve circle, and just also convert it to points, curve to points, And if we connect this, actually before we do that, let me just first connect this as instances so that you can see that what we are doing here. We're creating a ring of rings, and that's exactly what they did in here. You can see that though this is a circle, it has a ring. It's very difficult to visualize here since they are twisted already, but I'm going to show you how that is. And I wanted to show you that here. And we want to align these circles to the curve. So I'll just use align Euler to vector, and let me see, get the right rotation. Yeah, so like that. And now we can instance our collection here. So if I turn this to points, we should be able to see those points. And if I just use an instance on points, so now we have, let me scale this down. Yeah, you can see we have bottles on each spiral. These are too many. In the example here, you can see they have like 6 or 4, I think around 6 per circle. So let's do 6. But their rotation is a bit off. Now the scale is a bit bad as well. So I'm going to create the same setup here, just so let me show you here what we are working with. So we have this. I want to use an align. So align this to that. Just have to get the right orientation. Yeah, I think that's it. And they're facing the wrong direction, so I'm going to use a transform geometry to rotate this 180 degrees to point out, like that. And then if we look at this, yeah, you can see we get the same spiral. Maybe you can scale this up a bit. Yeah, so hence getting that spiral effect. Now it's twisted, and to get that twist, we can do that from here, from this curve. So this is a curve. This is the original curve. And if we just take a look at it here, there is an option to use to set tilt, curve tilt. And by rotating that, we can rotate the spiral. And if we use a spline parameter, we have this factor. If we plug that in the tilt, we can offset. So we can influence the tilt by each point on the curve. So I can just amplify that effect by using a math node and setting the operation to multiply. So we get that exact tilt that we have in the example. Now I can also add a math node, another math node with the operation add, to just continuously rotate this the way I want. So if you look at the original example, yeah, they're continuously rotating. And by the way, you can control, you have a few things we can control here. We can control the spacing of these, and we can also control the count. So it depends on how you want to animate this. Now, if you increase the radius of this, you can get a different effect as well. So let me just keep these. Yeah, I think 6 was good. And then we can Yeah, and we can also play with the radius. So if you want this to open up, like in the example here, so it opens up just a bit to give room for the bigger bottle, and that's what we can do with this radius here. So you can animate that. You can animate in the example, in the final version, I didn't animate this, but you can animate it if you want. And you can animate this value to have these rotate. And to animate that, you can use a scene time. Just connect the seconds into that, and I have that animating. I'd like to animate at 60 frames per second, so let me change that so that we have a much smoother animation. Okay, so that was setting up that. Now the other one is setting up the other spiral. So because we have two levels, we have this small circle and then we have the other spiral circle. That should also be easy. We just need a new setup here. I'm just going to add a plane like this, and I need to create a line mesh, and I can have it go on the x-axis like that. Now to create a spiral, all we need is a set position, and what we want to do is play with the position values. We can separate these using the separate node, and bring in the combine because we want to bring them back into the position value. So if I connect the x to the x, I've basically done nothing. But what I want to do is to turn this into a circle. So what I can do is use a math node with some trigonometries. So I can just use a sine on the x and a cosine for the y. Since if we connect the y value directly to the cosine, we basically don't see anything since the y values were all zeros. If I remove this, the original position, if I disable this for a second, you can see we didn't really have any y values, we only have x values. So if I plug this, so instead of using the y value, I'm just going to borrow the x value. Now you can see now we have a circle. We don't have enough segments, so I can just increase that. And I don't want it to use offset. I want to use endpoint. That means that we can control the resolution of the curve by just increasing the count here. And we can also, let me just add a reroute node there. I can also add a math node here with the operation of, if I use just add, I'm just rotating this around. So this could be a good way to animate something like this. But if you use a multiply, we can scale this to make a complete circle. We need more segments. Okay, something like that. Now this is still a flat circle, a flat object. Now to make it spiral up, all I need to do is connect the y value into the z, the x value into the z, and I can also add a math node to this, but this time with the operation of multiply to just multiply that up. Yeah, so we have a spiral, and if I multiply this, you can see we get more coils. I can increase these subdivisions. We don't need that many coils, we just need something like that, and then we can just instance on points or convert these points, these 2 points, using the 2 points, curve to points option. And let me make sure, okay, this is a line, so I need to convert it to mesh to curve, and then curve to point. And now I have control over the points here, which you would not have with just the mesh. With just if this was a mesh, you don't have control over the points, and you also don't get this tangent and rotation that needed to align the instances. So if I add instances on this instance on points, I can use the align euler vector that requires a vector and then a rotation. So that gives us that. I still need the bottle. Connect that. Scale this down. We can play with the count here to add some spacing. Find the right rotation. I can add vector math to this rotation to just offset things a bit. Or if you want, you can even add a transform node here to offset the position of these so that you can play with the rotation differently. Now you can also just animate the rotation of this. So I'm just going to use a scene time. Connect this maybe just to have some random rotation like what you see in the example here. There is a slight rotation to those, and all you have to do is just start positioning the camera to how you want. So they animated these the camera pulling. Let me just split this. So they animated the camera moving up. So now these ones here, let me see. If we go back here, we have any sort of rotation we could look at. I could add can I add a transform node here? You can just animate these rotating, and also give this middle one a bit of rotation as well. And if you want, because you see, if you want this circle, the outer circle to be larger, all you have to do is, let me see, we could add a transform node here and just scale up only the X and Y axis. So we can, yeah, have that rotated. And then you get another bottle for the middle final piece. So Mountain Dew bottle. Just using an instance of this bottle. Is that this one here? You just give it, you hide it at first and then scale it coming out of this like this. And I think the main parts of the animation are done. Then the rest is, let's see. Let's look at this. It's just going to be a breakdown of how I did the probably could have handled the background area a bit better. Let me first go back to my viewport compositor, just disable this. Okay, I'm going to disable the background. Yeah, I just want only to look at the background. Now maybe can remove the bottle as well. Just focus on the background. So the background, I have this mesh. Let me go to the shader editor here. It's just a translucent material. And then I have an area light behind it. And this is what gives that glow effect. Otherwise, it just looks plain like that. So just need to give a powerful light in the background there, and then we have something like that. So these spirals are just a mesh with so basically they're a mesh. Need link materials here. So it's just a mesh like this with noise texture that is stretched, and it's a translucent and a diffuse material with this noise texture as the factor. And so this is a very long. It's a long mesh like that with a lot of subdivisions. So I subdivided it, and I just selected one side and turn on proportional editing, and just rotated this to make something spiral like that to create that background. Like I said, I would have preferred to make it more detailed than that, but I think it came out okay, considering that I did this in less than 5 hours. So I also stretched these up in the Z-axis to add some depth. And then the lighting, you can see, is very simple. The main light is this one in the back, in the background under there. And without this translucent shape, we don't really see much. So then you add your bottles, and you basically have the animation. Yeah, I think I'll be doing more breakdowns like this because I think you can learn a lot more from this. And the other thing I could do, you could also switch out some of the bottles for maybe you create a cube, an ice cubes like that to go around to add more detail and make this more rich. But I'm pretty happy with the results I got. If I go to the compositor here, I can see my compositor. I don't really have a lot going on in the compositor except yeah, so this is what we have. Yeah, I just have a glare to add in that glow effect. As you can see, when I turn it off, played with the colors a bit. I didn't do much, and added a vignette by just adding an ellipse mask, blurring it a bit, and multiplying it over everything. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you in the next video. All the links are going to be provided in the description. You can download the bottle, and by the way, the time lapse, I'll be leaving a link to my second channel where I show the whole process of modeling the bottle, which I think was really interesting to make. Thank you.